Christmas lights covered the city, but someone there could not feel the magic of the season. Amid the festive crowd, an unexpected gesture broke the silence of an isolated life. A child approached, carrying an invitation as unlikely as it was powerful. And that simple moment began a transformation that no one could have predicted. If this story interested you, subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you are watching from. Let's begin! It was December in Aspen, Colorado, and the cloudy sky covered the streets adorned with colorful lights and Christmas decorations that attracted tourists from all over the country. The shop windows, filled with Santa's golden reindeer and year-end promotions, displayed the festive spirit that the Colorado mountain town cultivated with such pride. But for Gustavo Montero, those lights seemed only a fragile attempt to hide the emptiness that had settled in his life. At 39 years old, CEO of Montero Tech, one of the most promising technology companies in the Colorado Rockies, Gustavo carried the weight of his success like a burden. Always impeccable in his custom-tailored dark suits, he walked through the town like someone traversing an internal winter. Even under the occasional warmth that broke through the heavy clouds of that season, no one in his company knew for sure what Gustavo would do during the year-end holidays. Some employees speculated about international trips. Others bet he would spend the recess reviewing financial reports. The reality was far less glamorous. Gustavo simply had nowhere to go. After the passing of his father, an austere and distant man who had always valued his son's achievements more than his happiness, the penthouse apartment in the town's most exclusive neighborhood seemed even emptier, the designer furniture even colder. That Thursday afternoon, after a particularly exhausting meeting with investors, Gustavo decided not to return home immediately. With no definite destination, he ended up driving his black Audi to Blackwood Lake, one of the town's most iconic tourist spots. He parked the car and walked unhurriedly to a bench near the water, observing families strolling by, carrying Christmas shopping bags and taking photos among the decorated pine trees. The sound of children running, couples holding hands and families gathered, seemed to belong to a world different from his own. Gustavo contemplated the scene as one watches a movie, something beautiful and distant that would never be part of his reality. It was then that a small figure appeared in his field of vision, a girl of approximately 4 years old, with curly hair tied in 2 uneven pigtails and a red dress that contrasted with her tanned skin. In her small hands, she held a colorful paper, decorated with so much glitter that it reflected the weak light of dusk. "Hi, Uncle," she said, stopping in front of Gustavo with a confidence that only children possess. Gustavo looked around, thinking she might be talking to someone else, but there was no one nearby. "Hello," he replied awkwardly. "Here," the girl said, extending the paper. "It's for you." Confused, Gustavo took what appeared to be a handmade card. It was covered in gold glitter and had drawings made with markers. When he opened it, he found a message written in childish, crooked, colorful handwriting. "Do you want to spend Christmas at our house?" Before he could say anything, a female voice sounded in the distance. "Sophia! Sophia, where are you?" The woman appeared seconds later, young, no more than 30, with curly hair like the girl's tied in an improvised bun. She wore the uniform of one of the town's restaurant chains and had visible dark circles under her dark eyes. "Sophia, how many times have I told you not to wander off?" The woman held her daughter's hand and then noticed Gustavo with the card still open in his hands. "I'm so sorry, sir. I hope my daughter hasn't bothered you." "Mommy, I invited him for Christmas," Sophia announced proudly. The embarrassment on the woman's face was evident. She took the card from Gustavo's hands and put it in her worn purse. "Forgive the inconvenience," she said, pulling Sophia by the hand. "She has this habit of making friends with everyone." "It was no bother at all," Gustavo replied, still surprised by the situation. The woman nodded briefly and walked away, with Sophia waving cheerfully over her shoulder. Gustavo remained seated, watching the two walk away, feeling something strange in his chest, a sensation he couldn't name. That night, in his silent apartment overlooking the illuminated town, Gustavo couldn't concentrate on work. He opened a bottle of expensive wine, but the drink didn't taste the same as usual. The image of the girl in the red dress and her sincere invitation wouldn't leave his head. The next day, Against all his rational tendencies, Gustavo returned to Blackwood Lake at the same time. He didn't know exactly what he expected to find there, but something propelled him. To his surprise, Sophia was there, sitting on the same bench where he had been the day before. The girl's mother was a few feet away, pretending to pay attention to a group of Christmas musicians playing near the lake. "You came back!" Sophia shouted when she saw him jumping off the bench. Yes," Gustavo replied, not quite knowing what to say. "I'd like to talk to your mother." Sophia took his hand, a gesture that caught him completely off guard, and led him to where her mother was. The woman turned as she noticed the two approaching, and her face showed a mixture of surprise and apprehension. "Hi," Gustavo said, extending his hand. "My name is Gustavo Monteiro. I'm the man your daughter invited for Christmas yesterday." "Bianca Oliveira," she replied, briefly shaking his hand, "and I truly apologize for that. Sophia has such a vivid imagination." "Actually," Gustavo continued, surprising himself, "I'd like to know if the invitation is still open." Bianca blinked a few times, as if trying to process what she had just heard. "Are you serious, sir?" she asked suspiciously. "Gustavo, please." "And yes, I am serious." Sophia jumped with joy beside them, completely oblivious to the tension of the moment. "Look, sir." "Gustavo," Bianca chose her words carefully. "I don't even know you." "Sophia is like that. She makes friends with everyone, but obviously we can't have a stranger in our home for Christmas." "Of course I understand." Gustavo retreated a little. It was a silly idea. He was already turning to leave when Sophia tugged at the hem of his shirt. "But are you going to be alone for Christmas?" she asked, with that devastating sincerity that only children possess. Gustavo knelt down to her height. "Sometimes people spend Christmas alone, Sophia, and that's okay." "No, it's not okay," she crossed her arms, determined. "No one can be alone for Christmas. It's a rule." Bianca watched the scene with a mixture of caution and curiosity. There was something in the way that man, clearly wealthy, looked at her daughter. It wasn't condescension or impatience, but something almost vulnerable. "Maybe," Bianca began, surprising even herself. "Maybe we could get to know each other better first, if you're really interested in Sophia's invitation." Sophia's eyes sparkled with joy. "Yes, we can have ice cream together, or ride the paddle boats, or see the Christmas lights." Gustavo smiled, a genuine smile that seemed out of place on his usually serious face. "I'd love to." "When do you have some free time?" "Mommy has Sunday off," Sophia replied before Bianca could say anything. "Sophia," Bianca chided her, but without much conviction. Then she turned to Gustavo. "I work at the Mountain Hearth Bistro restaurant. I have a lunch break tomorrow, around 2. If you like, we can talk a bit." 2 o'clock tomorrow, Gustavo confirmed with a nod. "I'll be there." As he walked away from the two, he felt strangely light, as if he had just closed an important business deal. But the sensation was different, less triumphant and more hopeful. The next day, Gustavo arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early. The Mountain Hearth Bistro was a traditional Aspen establishment, frequented mainly by tourists seeking typical regional cuisine. He ordered a coffee and waited, checking his watch every few minutes. Bianca appeared promptly at 2 o'clock, still in her restaurant uniform, but with a light cardigan over it. She sat at the table with a defensive posture, like someone preparing for a difficult negotiation. "I only have 30 minutes, she warned. "I appreciate your time," Gustavo replied. There was an awkward silence. Both seemed unsure how to proceed. "Why do you want to spend Christmas with complete strangers?" Bianca finally asked, getting straight to the point. "A man like you surely has family, friends, co-workers." "A man like me," he repeated. "You know. Successful." She gestured vaguely to the expensive watch on his wrist and his perfectly tailored suit. Gustavo contemplated his coffee cup for a few moments before answering. "My father passed away 2 months ago," he said, surprising himself with his own honesty. "He was my only family. As for friends, let's say I dedicated so much time to work that I ended up neglecting that aspect of my life." Bianca's expression softened a little. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you," he replied automatically, but to be completely honest, we weren't close. In fact, we drifted apart many years ago. "And why did Sophia's invitation interest you so much?" Gustavo hesitated. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe because it was the first genuinely kind thing anyone had done for me in a very long time. The silence that followed was less tense, more reflective. Sophia doesn't have a father, Bianca said abruptly. I mean, biologically she does, of course, but he was never present. It's always just been the two of us. You raise her alone? Yes. I work 2 shifts here, and during tourist seasons I pick up extra shifts wherever I can. It's not easy, but we manage. Gustavo nodded, respecting the strength that confession demonstrated. Sophia is a special child, he commented. Bianca's face lit up with a maternal smile. She is very perceptive for her age, and stubborn as can be. I imagine she gets that from her mother, Gustavo ventured with a slight smile. Bianca laughed, a soft sound that seemed not to match her always tense features. Probably. The rest of the lunch passed quickly, with conversation flowing surprisingly easily. Bianca told him how she came from Denver to Aspen in search of better opportunities when she discovered her pregnancy, and how she had managed to rent a small house on the outskirts of town thanks to her job at the restaurant. Gustavo spoke about his software development company, which started as a university project and now had branches in 3 states. When Bianca's cell phone alarm rang, announcing the end of her break, both seemed genuinely disappointed. I need to get back to work, she said, standing up. It was good talking to you, Gustavo. The pleasure was mine, he replied sincerely. And about Sophia's invitation. Bianca hesitated for a moment. Sunday is my day off. We're taking Sophia to see the Christmas decorations in Heritage Square. If you want, you can meet us there. At 3 in the afternoon. I'll be there, Gustavo promised. In the days that followed, Gustavo found himself constantly thinking about Bianca and Sophia. On Sunday, he arrived at the square half an hour earlier than arranged, carrying a package wrapped in colorful paper. When he spotted Sophia running towards him, he felt something strange in his chest, a mixture of anxiety and joy that he hadn't experienced since childhood. You really came, Sophia shouted, hugging his legs tightly. I promised, didn't I? He replied awkwardly, handing the package to the girl. What's this? Down, she asked, already tearing open the wrapping without waiting for an answer. Sophia, that's not polite, Bianca gently chided her, arriving right behind. She wore a simple dress and had her hair down for the first time since Gustavo had met her. She looked younger, less tired. It's just a small gift, Gustavo explained. Sophia finished opening the package, revealing an illustrated children's book about a girl who befriended a shooting star. A book, she exclaimed, excitedly flipping through the colorful pages. Mommy, look! It has drawings. It's very beautiful, Sophia. What do you say? Thank you, Uncle Gustavo. The girl hugged the book to her chest. Uncle Gustavo? He repeated, raising an eyebrow at Bianca. She decided that last night, Bianca explained, a little embarrassed. I hope you don't mind. No, not at all, he replied, feeling a strange satisfaction with the title. The 3 spent the afternoon exploring the square's Christmas decorations. Sophia insisted on showing Gustavo every detail, as if he had never seen a Santa Claus or a light-up reindeer before. At one point, when the girl ran to get a closer look at a nativity scene, Bianca and Gustavo were alone for an instant. She's very excited about your presence, Bianca commented. I haven't seen her like this in a long time. She's a wonderful child, Gustavo replied, watching Sophia enthusiastically point at the figures in the nativity scene. You've done an excellent job raising her. Bianca looked at him, surprised by the sincere compliment. Thank you. It's not always easy, but we do the best we can, don't we? When Sophia returned, she brought with her a cotton candy vendor. Her pleading eyes were impossible to resist, and soon the 3 were sharing the sugary treat, with Sophia making a colorful mess around her mouth. I think I owe you an apology, Bianca said softly, as Sophia ran a little ahead of them. I judged you before I knew you. I thought you'd be different. Different how? Gustavo asked. I don't know. More arrogant, perhaps? Successful people usually are. I probably was, he admitted. Still am in many situations. But recently I've been realizing that professional success doesn't mean much when you have no one to share it with. Bianca studied him for a moment, as if trying to see beyond the surface. You know what else impresses me? Sophia is usually good at judging people. If she liked you, there must be something special there. Before Gustavo could answer, Sophia ran back, pointing to the darkening sky. Look, Mommy, the lights are coming on. Indeed, as night fell, the thousands of Christmas lights in the square began to illuminate, creating a magical spectacle. Sophia's face lit up with the reflected colors, and Gustavo felt something expand within his chest as he saw the pure joy in the girl's eyes. It's beautiful, Bianca murmured, also enchanted. Gustavo looked at mother and daughter, their faces illuminated by the glow of the colorful lights, and thought he had never seen anything so beautiful in his entire life. When night fell completely, Sophia began to show signs of tiredness. Gustavo offered to drive them home, but Bianca hesitated. We live a bit far from here, she said. We can take the bus. Please, I insist, Gustavo replied. It's already dark and Sophia is tired. After a moment of hesitation, Bianca agreed. On the way to the car, Sophia fell asleep in her mother's arms, the book still firmly clutched in her small hands. Bianca directed Gustavo to a secluded area away from Aspen's tourist center. The houses there were simple, some unfinished, very different from the European facades that characterized the town center. They stopped in front of a small two-story building with a modest front yard. It's here, Bianca said, her voice soft so as not to wake Sophia. It's not much, but it's our home. It's perfect, Gustavo replied, with a sincerity that surprised him. He helped Bianca carry a sleeping Sophia to the door. When the girl was placed in her bed, she briefly opened her eyes. Uncle Gustavo, she murmured sleepily. Will you come back? Gustavo looked at Bianca, who nodded slightly. Yes, Sophia, I promise. The girl smiled and fell back asleep. When they left the room, Bianca offered Gustavo coffee, which he readily accepted. The kitchen was small but cozy, with Sophia's drawings taped to the refrigerator and hand-decorated potted plants on the windowsills. They sat at the simple table with steaming coffee cups in front of them. You really don't have to do this, you know, Bianca said suddenly. Do what? This? Spending time with us. I know you must have more important things to do. Gustavo took a sip of coffee before replying. Actually, I don't. And even if I did, I can't imagine anything more important right now. Bianca studied his face for an instant, as if searching for signs of insincerity. Why would someone like you be interested in someone like us? She finally asked. Someone like me, Gustavo repeated. Bianca, I grew up in a suburb of Denver. My father was a mechanic. I only got where I am because he worked 3 jobs to pay for my college. I'm not from a rich or important family. But now you are rich and important, she argued. Perhaps, but that hasn't made me happy. It hasn't stopped me from being completely alone at 39. The silence that followed was more comfortable, as if an invisible barrier had been broken between them. Sophia's Christmas invitation, Bianca began hesitantly. If you really want to, you'd be welcome. Gustavo felt something warm expand in his chest. I'd love to. When he finally said goodbye, it was past midnight. The drive back to his luxurious apartment never seemed so long and so empty. Entering his home, he looked at the expensive furniture, the artwork on the walls, the panoramic view of the city, and for the first time, he saw it all for what it really was. Just things. Lifeless objects that would never fill the emptiness he felt. That night, Gustavo slept better than he had in years, dreaming of colorful lights, cotton candy, and the sound of Sophia's laughter echoing in the square. The next morning, Gustavo woke with a strange feeling, as if something important was about to happen. He checked his phone and found dozens of unread emails and messages from his assistant reminding him of appointments. It was Monday, and there was an important meeting with investors at 9. For a moment, he almost succumbed to his usual routine. Wake up, drink coffee while reviewing documents, put on one of his impeccable suits, and dive headfirst into work until nightfall. But something had changed. He picked up his phone and sent a message to his assistant. Cancel all my appointments this morning. I'll be in the office after lunch. He took a long shower, dressed more casually than usual, dark jeans and a button-down shirt without a tie, and left with no definite destination. He ended up stopping at a toy store in downtown Aspen, something he hadn't done since... He couldn't even remember when. He spent almost an hour browsing the colorful shelves, observing parents and their children, feeling out of place, and at the same time, strangely belonging. He left with a gift-wrapped package. It was nothing extravagant, just a small Play-Doh kit with animal-shaped molds. Sophia had mentioned she loved creating pretend animals, as she called them. As he returned to his car, he hesitated before turning the ignition. It was almost noon. He knew Bianca would be working at the restaurant. Sophia would probably be at school or with a babysitter. He hadn't arranged to see them that day. It would be inappropriate to show up unannounced. But before he could change his mind, he started the car and drove to the Mountain Hearth Bistro. He entered the restaurant, which was relatively busy for a Monday, and looked for Bianca among the waiters circulating between tables. She spotted him first. For an instant, Gustavo saw surprise on her face, followed by something that seemed like joy. Bianca finished serving a table and then approached him. "Gustavo? What are you doing here? Did something happen?" "No, nothing happened," he replied, suddenly conscious of how impulsive he had been. "I just was passing by and thought I'd say hello." Bianca raised an eyebrow, clearly not believing that excuse. "You were passing by the restaurant on a Monday at noon?" "All right, you caught me," Gustavo admitted, smiling. "Actually, I bought a small gift for Sophia and thought I'd leave it with you." Bianca's face softened. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. I wanted to." She looked around, checking if any customers needed attention, then turned back to Gustavo. "My break isn't for another hour. Do you want to have lunch while you wait?" "I'd love to," he replied promptly. Bianca led him to a table in the corner and handed him the menu. "I recommend the mushroom risotto. It's the house specialty." "I trust your judgment," he said, returning the menu without opening it. While he waited, Gustavo watched Bianca work. She moved efficiently between tables, smiling politely at customers, balancing plates and taking orders. There was a natural grace in her movements, despite the visible tiredness in her posture. Lunch was delicious, but what Gustavo really looked forward to was Bianca's break. When she finally sat across from him with a modest plate of salad, she looked exhausted. "Tough day?" he asked. "Tourists," Bianca replied with a tired smile. "The holiday season is always like this, but I'm not complaining. The more busy it is, the more tips." Gustavo nodded, suddenly aware of the difference between their realities. While he cancelled meetings on a whim, she relied on extra tips to get by. "How's Sophia?" he asked, changing the subject. Bianca's face instantly lit up. "She's good. At school. She talked about you all morning. Uncle Gustavo said this. Uncle Gustavo promised that. I think you made quite an impression." Gustavo felt an inexplicable warmth in his chest. "She's an amazing child." "She is," Bianca agreed. Then hesitantly she added, "If you want. Sophia would be happy if you came over tonight. For dinner. Nothing special, of course. Just pasta with tomato sauce, probably." "Pasta with tomato sauce sounds perfect," Gustavo replied immediately. "What time?" "I leave here at 7. So 8? I'll be there. Can I bring anything? Wine, dessert?" Bianca smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her tired eyes. "Ice cream. Sophia loves chocolate ice cream." At 8 o'clock sharp, Gustavo parked in front of Bianca's house. He brought not only chocolate ice cream, but also strawberry and vanilla, plus syrup and colorful sprinkles, a true ice cream party, as the ice cream parlor vendor had called it. When he rang the doorbell, he heard hurried footsteps and Sophia's high-pitched voice shouting, "He's here, Mummy." "He's here!" The door opened and the girl jumped into his arms without hesitation, as if she had known him for years. "Uncle Gustavo." "Did you bring ice cream?" she asked, already looking at the bag in his hand. "Sophia!" Bianca chided her, appearing right behind. She wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, her hair still damp from a shower. "That's not polite." "Sorry." The girl backed off a little, but her gaze remained fixed on the bag. Gustavo laughed. "Yes, I brought ice cream. And not just one, but 3 flavors." Sophia clapped her hands, ecstatic, and pulled Gustavo by the hand into the house. The interior was modest but cozy. The small living room had a worn sofa covered by a colorful blanket, some plants in handmade pots, and a bookshelf filled with children's books and toys. On the walls, several drawings made by Sophia added a personal touch to the ambiance. "Come on, Uncle Gustavo. I want to show you my room." Sophia insisted, pulling him by the hand. Sophia, let Gustavo at least take off his coat, Bianca requested, taking the ice cream bags. I'll put these in the freezer. It's okay, Gustavo said, letting himself be guided by the enthusiastic child. Sophia's room was small but charming. A bed with a pink quilt and full of stuffed animals, a desk with drawing supplies scattered about, and walls decorated with more drawings and some glow-in-the-dark stars. Look, Uncle Gustavo. This one is you. Sophia pointed to a drawing tacked to the wall above her bed. It was a stick figure in what appeared to be a blue suit, next to two smaller figures, one with curly hair and another in a red dress. The three held hands under what looked like a Christmas tree, full of colorful ornaments. It's us, Sophia explained proudly. You, me, and Mommy at Christmas. Gustavo felt something tighten in his throat. It's a very beautiful drawing, Sophia. You can have it if you want, she offered, already peeling the paper from the wall. Sophia, that's your favorite drawing. Bianca had appeared at the bedroom door. It's okay, Mommy, I can make another one, the girl replied simply, handing the drawing to Gustavo. He held it as if it were an invaluable treasure. Thank you, Sophia, I'll cherish it. During dinner, which consisted of spaghetti with tomato sauce and grated cheese, Sophia monopolized the conversation, talking about her school, her friends, and her plans for Christmas. Gustavo listened attentively, asking questions and reacting enthusiastically to each new story. And the teacher said, I can be the angel in the Christmas play, Sophia announced, her mouth still full of pasta. Sophia, don't talk with your mouth full, Bianca corrected her gently. The girl swallowed hastily. Sorry, but I can be the angel, Uncle Gustavo. And you'll watch, right? Please say yes. Gustavo looked at Bianca, seeking approval. She gave a small nod. Of course I will, Sophia. I wouldn't miss it for anything. The girl's smile was like a ray of sunshine. Yay, I'm going to be the best angel ever. After dinner came the eagerly awaited dessert. Sophia was ecstatic with the variety of flavors and sprinkles. Gustavo helped assemble elaborate sundaes, decorated with chocolate syrup and colorful sprinkles. Yours is so pretty, Uncle Gustavo. It looks like it's from a restaurant. Sophia praised, her face already smeared with chocolate. Thank you, but I think yours is much more creative, he replied, smiling at the mountain of ice cream covered in an excessive amount of sprinkles. When Sophia finally went to bed, after insisting that Gustavo read her a story, Bianca invited him for coffee on the small back porch of the house. She really likes you, Bianca commented, as she poured coffee into simple ceramic mugs. The feeling is mutual, Gustavo replied, accepting the mug. Sophia is special. Yes, she is, Bianca smiled, sitting in a wicker chair next to him. You know, when she was younger, she used to ask about her father. Why he didn't visit her. Why we didn't have pictures of him. I always said he was very busy, traveling, working far away. Eventually, she stopped asking. Gustavo listened in silence, feeling that Bianca needed to vent. Her father wasn't exactly a love story, she continued, looking up at the starry night. I was young, naive. He was older, charming, full of promises. When I found out I was pregnant, he just disappeared, blocked my number, changed his address, as if we had never existed. I'm sorry, Gustavo murmured. Don't be, Bianca shrugged. It was hard at first, but Sophia is the best thing that ever happened to me. I wouldn't trade my life with her for anything. You're amazing, Bianca, Gustavo said with sincere admiration. Raising a daughter alone, working so hard, and yet Sophia is the happiest, most well-adjusted child I've ever met. Bianca blushed slightly at the compliment. We do what we can, don't we? And you? Never thought about having children. Gustavo contemplated the question for a moment, looking into his coffee mug. Honestly, I never thought I'd be a good father. My own father was complicated, demanding. Nothing I did was ever enough for him. I think I was always afraid of repeating the pattern. And now, Bianca asked, her eyes meeting his in the dark of the porch. Now, I don't know. Meeting Sophia has made me question many things. A comfortable silence settled between them. It wasn't the awkward silence of strangers, but the calm silence of people beginning to understand each other. She really expects you to come for Christmas, Bianca said finally. She won't stop talking about it. And you? Gustavo asked, venturing. What do you expect? Bianca studied him for a long moment before replying. I hope that you don't disappoint her. Sophia gets attached to people easily. And she gets hurt easily too. I have no intention of ever disappointing her, Gustavo said firmly. Nor you. The look they exchanged seemed to last an eternity, full of unasked questions and unsaid answers. When Gustavo finally said goodbye, it was past midnight. Sophia was sleeping soundly, clutching one of her stuffed animals. Bianca walked him to the door. Thank you for tonight, she said. It was nice. Can we do it again? Gustavo asked, surprised by his own boldness. Of course, Bianca replied after a brief hesitation. Sophia would love it. And you? Bianca smiled, a different, more vulnerable smile. I would love to, too. In the days that followed, Gustavo became a constant presence in Bianca and Sophia's lives. He had lunch almost daily at the Mountain Hearth Bistro, where he chatted briefly with Bianca during her breaks. Sometimes he picked Sophia up from school when Bianca had to work late, taking the girl for ice cream or a walk in the park before taking her home. On one of those afternoons, while Sophia played on the Blackwood Lake playground, Gustavo received a call from his assistant, reminding him of an important investor meeting he had rescheduled 3 times. Mr. Montero, they are threatening to withdraw their investment if they can't speak with you personally this week, said the worried voice on the phone. Gustavo looked at Sophia, who was waving excitedly from the top of the slide. Schedule it for tomorrow at 10, he replied, resigned. I'll be there. When he hung up, he felt a weight in his stomach. In recent weeks, he had deliberately neglected his duties at the company, delegating responsibilities and avoiding commitments. Montero Tech, which had been the center of his life for so many years, suddenly seemed distant, almost irrelevant. Uncle Gustavo, look what I found, Sophia called, running towards him with something in her hands. It was a blue feather, probably from some local bird. It's for you. It matches your eyes. Gustavo smiled, gently taking the feather. Thank you, Sophia, it's beautiful. Are you sad? The girl asked, surprising him with her perception. No, I'm not sad, he replied, trying to sound convincing. Just thinking about some work stuff. Sophia made a face. Work is boring. Mommy also gets sad when she thinks about work. The simplicity of the observation hit Gustavo like a lightning bolt. For him, work had always been a source of pride, of personal fulfillment. He had never considered that for many people like Bianca, work was just a necessity, often exhausting and thankless. Sometimes work can be boring, he agreed. But it's important. Why? Sophia asked with that childlike curiosity that cut straight to the chase. Well, Gustavo hesitated, realizing that the automatic answer of to earn money sounded hollow, even to his own ears. For some people, work helps create new and useful things for the world. For others, like your mother, work is a way to take care of loved ones. And your work? Sophia insisted. Is it to create things or to take care of someone? The question caught him off guard. A few years ago, he would have readily answered that his work was to create innovative technologies, change the world, leave a legacy. But now those words seemed empty, rehearsed. I think, he began slowly, my work used to be just about creating things. But now, maybe it's changing. Sophia seemed satisfied with the answer. She took Gustavo's hand and pulled him back to the playground. Come on, Uncle Gustavo. I want to go on the swing. That night, after taking Sophia home, Gustavo spent hours in his penthouse office, reviewing reports and preparing for the next day's meeting. The numbers were excellent. Montero Tech was growing faster than ever, expanding into new markets, developing promising technologies. Everything he had worked for in the past 15 years was going right. So why did he feel so empty? The meeting with the investors the next morning was tense but productive. Gustavo presented the quarterly results, discussed future strategies, and answered difficult questions with his usual competence. In the end, he not only managed to retain the investment, but also received a proposal to expand even further. We are impressed, Mr. Montero, said the lead investor, a middle-aged man in an impeccable suit. Despite your recent absence, the company continues to prosper. This shows how well-structured it is. Thank you, Gustavo replied automatically. However, the man continued, we would like to see you more present. Montero Tech is a reflection of your vision. Without you, it can continue to function, but it loses its soul. The words echoed in his mind for the rest of the day. Without you, it loses its soul. Wasn't that exactly what had happened to him? For years he had plunged headfirst into work, building a successful company, accumulating wealth and prestige. But in the process, he had lost something essential, the ability to connect, to feel, to live beyond spreadsheets and meetings. When he left the office, it was past 7 in the evening. Instead of going home, he drove to the restaurant where Bianca worked. He hadn't planned this, but suddenly he felt an urgent need to see her. The Mountain Hearth Bistro was busy, as it always was in the evening. Gustavo spotted Bianca circulating between tables, her face tired but smiling. When she saw him, her eyes widened in surprise. "Gustavo? What are you doing here?" she asked, approaching. "Did something happen to Sophia?" No. Sophia is fine, I imagine. He hesitated, not knowing exactly what to say. "I just wanted to see you." Bianca seemed momentarily speechless. "I'm in the middle of my shift," she finally said. "I know. Sorry to show up unannounced. Can we talk when you're done?" She checked her watch. "I get off at 10. Is that too late for you?" "No, not at all." "Well, wait." Gustavo sat at a table in the back of the restaurant, ordered a dinner he barely touched, and watched Bianca work for what seemed like endless hours. There was a grace in her movements, a silent strength in her posture that fascinated him. How had he not noticed it before? When the restaurant finally began to empty, and Bianca finished her shift, they walked out together into the cold Aspen night. Christmas lights twinkled everywhere, creating an almost magical atmosphere. "Are you okay?" Bianca asked as they walked side by side. "You seem different." "I had an important meeting today," Gustavo replied, "about the future of my company, and it didn't go well." "On the contrary, it was excellent. I received a proposal to expand even further, open branches in other countries, practically double the company's size in the coming years." Bianca studied him cautiously. "That doesn't seem to make you happy." "That's the problem," Gustavo admitted, stopping to face her. "A few weeks ago, this proposal would be everything I ever wanted. The peak of my career. But now I'm not sure." "What changed?" Bianca asked, her voice soft in the cold night air. Gustavo looked at her, truly looked, her curly hair escaping her improvised bun, her tired but attentive eyes, her small hands roughened by work. And he felt something expand within his chest, something he couldn't name but which frightened and fascinated him at the same time. "I met you," he replied simply. "And Sophia." Bianca held her breath, her eyes fixed on his. "Gustavo, I know it's crazy," he continued, the words coming out in a rush. "We've only known each other for a few weeks. But in these weeks I've lived more than in years. Sophia made me remember what it's like to marvel at small things. And you showed me a strength I didn't even know existed." "Gustavo, please." Bianca took a step back. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Idealize, romanticize. Our life isn't a fairy tale. It's difficult, complicated. Sophia has her tantrums. I have my daily struggles. We're not characters in a Christmas movie to fill the emptiness in your life." The words hit Gustavo like a slap, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. "You're right," he admitted, backing off a little. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." "You didn't offend me," Bianca replied, softening her tone. "I just want to make sure you understand what's happening. Sophia has grown attached to you, and that worries me. She's had enough disappointments in her life already." "I would never intentionally disappoint her," Gustavo said firmly. "Intentionally, no. But what about when your life goes back to normal? When important meetings, business trips, corporate dinners become your priority again? Where do Sophia and I fit into that equation?" The question hung between them, heavy and unanswered. "I don't know," Gustavo admitted finally. "Honestly, I don't know. All I can say is that, for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm truly living, not just existing. And that has value to me." Bianca studied his face for a long moment, as if looking for signs of falsity or manipulation. Finding none, she sighed. "Let's take it slow, okay?" she asked. "For Sophia, for all of us." "Yes, let's take it slow," Gustavo agreed. When they arrived at Bianca's house, a light was on in the living room. The babysitter, an elderly woman who lived next door, came to greet them at the door. "She fell asleep a little while ago," the woman informed them in a low voice. "She asked me to tell you she saved a new drawing for Uncle Gustavo." Bianca thanked her and paid the babysitter, who left with a curious glance at Gustavo. "Want to come in?" Bianca asked, hesitant. "See the drawing?" "I'd love to," he replied. The drawing was on the kitchen table, a colorful sheet where 3 stick figures, now recognizable as Gustavo, Bianca and Sofia, appeared around a table with what looked like a cake with candles. "My birthday," Bianca explained, with a sad smile. "It's in 2 weeks. Sofia's planning a surprise party that obviously isn't a surprise anymore." "I didn't know," Gustavo said, genuinely surprised. "How old?" 29, she replied. "Nothing special." "On the contrary," Gustavo countered. "It's very special. We should celebrate." "You don't have to, really. Usually we just make a small cake. Sofia blows out the candles with me and that's it." "And this year?" Gustavo asked, pointing to the drawing where he clearly appeared as part of the celebration. Bianca looked at the drawing, then at Gustavo, a rare vulnerability in her eyes. "This year? I don't know." "It depends on you, doesn't it?" The question hung between them, laden with unspoken meanings. Gustavo carefully picked up the drawing as if it were a valuable contract. "I'll be here," he promised, "with a cake and presents." "Gustavo, we don't need—" "I know you don't need to," he interrupted gently. "But I want to be here, if you'll have me." The look they exchanged was intense, full of unexplored possibilities. "Good night, Gustavo," Bianca finally said, walking him to the door. "Good night, Bianca." On the way back home, Gustavo couldn't stop thinking about Sofia's drawing, about the implicit promise in that simple image made by childish hands. 3 people around a cake, a family. When he arrived at his luxurious apartment, the feeling of emptiness hit him with renewed force. The expensive furniture, the artwork on the walls, the panoramic view, none of it mattered, for the first time. He was seeing his life for what it truly was. An empty shell built around goals that once achieved did not bring the promised satisfaction. He took Sofia's drawing and taped it to the refrigerator door with a magnet, right next to the first drawing she had given him. The image seemed strangely out of place in that immaculate and impersonal kitchen, but at the same time, it seemed to be the only real thing in the entire apartment. That night, before going to sleep, Gustavo picked up the phone and called his assistant. "Cancel my trip to New York City next week," he instructed, "and book a slot in my agenda for the 15th. It's an important person's birthday for me." On the other end of the line, his assistant seemed confused. In 15 years of working together, Gustavo had never mentioned birthdays or personal dates. He always put work first. No exceptions. "Of course, Mr. Montero. Anything else?" Gustavo hesitated, then said, "Yes. Look for the best toy store in Aspen. I want to order something special. And also the best jewelry store." "Jewelry store, sir?" "That's right. I need a meaningful gift." As he hung up, Gustavo felt a strange lightness, as if he had made an important decision without even realizing it. He fell asleep, gazing at Sofia's 2 drawings he had placed on the nightstand beside his bed. 2 colorful promises of a future that, only a few weeks before, he would never have thought possible. The next 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Gustavo found himself balancing his corporate life with increasingly frequent visits to Bianca and Sofia's home. Each day, the invisible barrier separating his 2 worlds seemed thinner, more fragile. At the office, his assistant, Amanda, noticed the subtle changes in her boss's behavior. Earlier departures, unexpected smiles on his phone calls, and most notably, the fact that for the first time in 15 years, Gustavo had delegated an important presentation to attend a school play. "A Christmas play," Amanda had repeated incredulously, when Gustavo informed her he would be absent from the meeting with the Lee Group investors. "You're going to miss the meeting with the Lee Group because of a children's play?" "Exactly," Gustavo replied with a calmness that surprised even himself. "It's important to me." "Important," Amanda echoed, as if processing information in a foreign language. "A school play." Gustavo merely smiled. "Lives are being transformed, Amanda, and I'm not talking about corporate mergers." At Sofia's school, Gustavo arrived half an hour before the presentation began. He wanted to make sure he got a good seat, from where he could film everything with the new phone he had bought specially for the occasion. The simple auditorium of the public school was decorated with paper stars, garlands, and a modest Christmas tree in the corner of the stage. Gradually, other parents began to arrive, many of them still in their work uniforms, visibly tired, but with smiles of anticipation on their faces. Gustavo felt strangely connected to them, part of a universal experience that transcended social classes and economic differences. Bianca arrived running, still in her restaurant uniform partially covered by a coat. Her face lit up when she saw Gustavo saving a seat for her in the front row. "I thought I wouldn't make it on time," she said, breathless, sitting beside him. "The restaurant was insane." "You didn't miss anything," Gustavo reassured her, handing her a small bouquet of flowers he had brought. "These are for you, for being an amazing mother." Bianca looked at the flowers, simple yet elegant yellow, roses, and then at Gustavo with an expression of surprise and something more, something he couldn't quite decipher. "Thank you," she murmured, accepting the bouquet. "No one ever, well, thank you." Before they could continue their conversation, the lights dimmed and the school principal took the stage to begin the presentation. As the first graders reenacted the story of Jesus' birth, Gustavo watched Sophia, with her little white paper wings and a crooked silver halo over her curly hair. She searched anxiously among the audience until her eyes met Gustavo's and Bianca's. The smile that spread across her face was so radiant that Gustavo felt something tighten in his chest. "She's looking for us," he whispered to Bianca. "No," Bianca corrected with a gentle smile. "She's looking for you." When it was Sophia's turn to recite her lines as an angel, she stepped forward on stage, lifted her chin, and with a clear and confident voice announced, "Do not be afraid. I bring good news of great joy for everyone. Today in the city of David, a Savior has been born." The audience applauded, but Sophia wasn't finished. Going completely off script, she added, "And remember, no one can be alone for Christmas, it's a rule." A wave of affectionate laughter swept through the auditorium. On stage, the teacher directing the play seemed torn between consternation and amusement. Bianca covered her face with her hands, mortified, but when she looked at Gustavo, she saw that he had tears in his eyes. "Are you crying?" she asked incredulously. "No," Gustavo lied, disguising it by wiping his eyes. "It's allergies." "Allergies?" "To 4-year-old angels," Bianca teased, but her voice was gentle. "Perhaps," he admitted, smiling through his tears, "this one in particular." After the performance, Sophia ran to them, still in her angel costume, her wings now crumpled from hugging her classmates so much. Did you see? I was the first angel, right?" "The best of all," Gustavo confirmed, kneeling to hug her. "I'm very proud of you, Sophia." "Did you record it?" she asked, her eyes shining with excitement. "Every second," he assured her, showing his phone. "We'll watch it together later." While Sophia went to change, helped by one of the teachers, a woman approached Bianca and Gustavo. She was a middle-aged lady with an elaborate hairstyle and clothes too expensive for the occasion. "Hello, Bianca," she greeted, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Sophia was adorable, as always. "Thank you, Mrs. Regina," Bianca replied, visibly tense. The woman turned her attention to Gustavo, examining him from head to toe with thinly veiled curiosity. "And you must be the famous Uncle Gustavo. Sophia talks about nothing else at school." Gustavo extended his hand, smiling politely. "Gustavo Montero. Nice to meet you." The woman's eyes widened slightly upon hearing the surname. "Montero from Montero Tech?" "The same," he confirmed without elaborating. Mrs. Regina looked from Gustavo to Bianca and back to Gustavo, a calculating expression on her face. "Interesting, very interesting. Sophia truly is a special child to attract the attention of someone like you." The tone implied something that made Gustavo feel a sudden wave of irritation. Beside him, Bianca tensed, her shoulders rigid. "Sophia, hers extraordinary," Gustavo replied, keeping his voice calm but firm. "And Bianca is an incredible mother. I am the lucky one to have been accepted into their lives." Mrs. Regina seemed momentarily speechless. Her gaze wandered between the two, calculating, evaluating. "Well, it's good to see that Sophia finally has a male figure in her life. Children raised only by mothers always miss that, don't they?" Bianca opened her mouth to reply, but Gustavo was quicker. "In my experience, Mrs. Regina, what children truly need is genuine love and conscious presence. Sophia has that in abundance thanks to the exceptional mother she has. Anything I can add to her life is just a bonus, not a necessity." Mrs. Regina's smile became rigid. Of course. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Montero. Bianca, we'll see you at the next parent meeting." When the woman walked away, Bianca let out an audible sigh. "That was impressive." "What?" Gustavo asked, still watching Mrs. Regina walk away. "The way you handled her. Mrs. Regina is the PTA president and practically lives to gossip about other families. Tomorrow, the whole school will know that Sophia has a rich stepfather." "Does that bother you?" Gustavo asked, studying Bianca's face. She thought for a moment. "It's not the fact that they think we're a couple that bothers me. It's the insinuation that I would be with you for your money." "And aren't we?" Gustavo asked, trying to keep his tone light but with a touch of seriousness in the question. Bianca looked him directly in the eyes. "No, we're not. Whatever is happening between us, Gustavo, has nothing to do with your money or your position. In fact, sometimes I think it would be easier if you were just an ordinary guy." Before Gustavo could reply, Sophia ran back, no longer in her angel costume, carrying a backpack with unicorn drawings. Mommy, the teacher said I was the prettiest angel and she said I have talent for theater." "Is that so, my love?" Bianca replied, bending down to fix her daughter's coat. "How wonderful. Can we have ice cream to celebrate?" Sophia asked, looking hopefully from Bianca to Gustavo. Please. "Sophia, it's late and you have school tomorrow," Bianca began. "Actually," Gustavo interrupted, "I reserved a table at the Alpine Chocolatier for the three of us, to celebrate our favorite actress's debut. And they have the best chocolate ice cream in town." Sophia's eyes sparkled like stars. "Really, the Alpine Chocolatier? For real?" The Alpine Chocolatier was one of Aspen's most traditional and expensive confectioneries, known for its elaborate desserts and sophisticated atmosphere. It wasn't the kind of place Bianca frequented with Sophia, and she gave Gustavo a look of slight disapproval. "Gustavo, you didn't have to." "I know," he replied simply, "but I wanted to do something special." Bianca's hesitation lasted only an instant when she saw the genuine joy on her daughter's face. "It's all right, but just a little ice cream, Sophia. It's getting late." At the Alpine Chocolatier, they were greeted like VIP guests. Apparently, Gustavo had done more than just reserve a table. The owner himself came to greet them and led them to the best table, decorated with small flower arrangements and a card that read, "Congratulations, Sophia, the best angel." "Did you plan all this?" Bianca asked, while Sophia admiringly gazed at the illustrated menu with images of extravagant desserts. "Perhaps," Gustavo admitted with a smile. "I wanted it to be memorable." "You're spoiling her," Bianca warned, but her tone wasn't truly reproachful. "A little spoiling now and then doesn't hurt anyone," Gustavo replied, winking at Sophia, who was now trying to decide between 10 different types of ice cream. The night was magical. Sophia ate more ice cream than she should have, recounted every detail of the play, and charmed even the most serious waiters with her vibrant personality. Gustavo watched it all with deep satisfaction, occasionally exchanging glances with Bianca, glances that lasted a little longer each time. When they finally left the restaurant, Sophia fell asleep in the back seat of Gustavo's car before they even reached home. Bianca carried her inside, with Gustavo following with the girl's backpack and coat. "She's exhausted," Bianca whispered, after putting Sophia to bed and gently closing the bedroom door. "But very happy." "I am too," Gustavo admitted. They went to the small living room where Bianca offered Gustavo some tea. Sitting on the worn sofa, with steaming mugs in their hands, they fell into a comfortable silence. "You know," Bianca began, breaking the silence, "when Sophia brought that first Christmas invitation home and told me about the sad man on the bench, I was terrified. I thought of 1,000 terrible scenarios. And now?" Gustavo asked. Bianca studied him for a moment, her eyes soft in the dim light of the room. Now I'm terrified for completely different reasons. What do you mean? Sofia adores you, Gustavo. In just a few weeks, you've become one of the most important people in her life. And that scares me because you think it won't last, he completed, understanding. That eventually I'll get tired and just disappear. Bianca nodded, not averting her gaze. You have such a different life from ours. A company to run, trips, commitments. We're just an interlude, a break in your normal routine. And that's okay, really. I just don't want Sofia to get hurt when you inevitably go back to your real life. Gustavo placed his mug on the coffee table and turned to face Bianca completely. What if this is my real life? What if everything that came before was just preparation? Gustavo, I'm serious, Bianca. In recent years, I've built a successful company, accumulated more money than I could spend in a lifetime, achieved all sorts of professional recognition. And do you know what I remember from those years? Nothing. Empty days blending into lonely nights. Meetings, trips, contracts, it all blurs into a grey, bland stain. He paused, searching for the right words. But these last few weeks, I remember every moment. Sofia's smile when she sees me arrive, the sound of her laughter when we're playing in the park. The way you furrow your brow when you're concentrated reading a book to her before bed. This is real, Bianca. More real than anything I've ever lived. Bianca seemed speechless, her eyes shining with contained emotion. I'm not saying I know exactly how this will work, Gustavo continued. But I know I want to be here with you, if you'll have me. A charged silence hung between them. Then slowly Bianca leaned closer and placed her hand over his. One day at a time, she said softly. That's all I can promise right now. It's more than enough, Gustavo replied, intertwining his fingers with hers. The moment was interrupted by the sound of Gustavo's cell phone. He ignored it initially, but when it kept ringing insistently, he checked the screen with a sigh. It's the office, he explained. It must be important for them to call at this hour. Answer it, Bianca encouraged. It might be an emergency. Gustavo answered the call, his face gradually transforming from concern to something more complex. A mixture of surprise, exasperation, and resignation. I understand, he said after a few minutes of listening. No, it can't wait until tomorrow. All right then. I'll be there in an hour. When he hung up, Bianca was already standing. Her arms crossed over her chest in a defensive posture Gustavo was beginning to recognize. You need to go, she said, not as a question. Yes, Gustavo confirmed, standing up as well. There was a problem with the main server. All the company's systems are down. It's really an emergency. Bianca nodded, her face a mask of forced understanding. Of course, I understand perfectly. Bianca, it's okay, Gustavo, really. You have responsibilities. Sofia is sleeping and won't even notice you left. There was something in the way she said it, a resignation, as if she were confirming something she already suspected, that made Gustavo feel terribly guilty. I'll be back as soon as I sort this out, he promised. Don't worry about us. Bianca replied, walking him to the door. We're used to being alone. The phrase hit him like a physical blow. He stopped with his hand on the doorknob, turning to face her. That's not fair, Bianca. It's not about being fair or not, she shrugged. It's reality. You have a company to run. It's important, I understand that. You two are important too, are we? Bianca asked, her voice low but intense. Important enough to put first, even when your corporate empire calls. The question hung between them, loaded and unanswered. I'll be back soon, was all Gustavo could say before leaving. On the way to the office, Gustavo's mind raced. Was Bianca right to doubt him? Was she being unfair or just realistic? And most disturbing, could he truly reconcile those two vastly different worlds? When he arrived at the office, he found chaos. The technical team was gathered in the server room, desperately trying to restore the systems. Amanda, his assistant, looked like she hadn't slept in days, even though the problem had only started a few hours earlier. Thank goodness you're here, she said, visibly relieved. Nothing we've tried has worked, and clients are already starting to notice the instability. If we don't fix this by morning, we could lose millions. Gustavo took a deep breath, pushing aside his personal worries. Show me what we have so far. The hours dragged on. 1 in the morning turned into 2, then 3. The team worked frantically, trying different approaches to solve the problem. Gustavo led the efforts, his analytical mind focused on the solution, while a part of him kept thinking about Bianca and Sofia sleeping peacefully miles away. When they finally managed to restore the systems, it was past 4 in the morning. The exhausted team briefly celebrated, but Gustavo felt only a deep weariness. "You should go home and rest," Amanda suggested, noticing the dark circles under her boss's eyes. "It's been intense hours." "Yes," Gustavo agreed distractedly, checking his phone. There were no messages from Bianca, not that he expected any at that hour. "May I ask a personal question?" Amanda ventured as they tidied up the last papers before leaving. "Of course. This woman, Bianca, right? Is it serious?" Gustavo looked at his assistant, surprised. In 15 years of working together, Amanda rarely asked about his personal life, mainly because until recently there wasn't much to ask about. "Why do you ask?" Amanda hesitated, choosing her words. "Because you seem different, more present in a way, even though you're physically less in the office, more focused when you are here, more, I don't know, alive?" Gustavo smiled tiredly. "Is it that obvious? To someone who's known you for 15 years? Yes, it's like you're a different person." "In a good way," she added quickly. "It's serious, Amanda. At least for me." Amanda nodded thoughtfully. "You know that problem we had today? We could have solved it without you. The technical team is competent. You built a strong enough team to handle crises without needing to be here personally." Gustavo stared at her, surprised by the observation. "Are you saying you called me unnecessarily?" "I'm saying that perhaps you need to reevaluate what truly requires your presence and what can be delegated. For your own good." Amanda's words echoed in Gustavo's mind all the way back. The sky was already beginning to lighten when he arrived home. Exhausted, he threw himself onto the bed without even changing clothes, but sleep wouldn't come. His thoughts kept returning to Bianca, to the look of resignation on her face when he said he had to leave. "We're used to being alone," she had said. The phrase haunted him, exposing a painful truth. While he moved in and out of their lives at his convenience, they were always there, building their existence day after day, without the option of simply leaving when things got complicated. When the clock struck 7 in the morning, Gustavo gave up trying to sleep. He got up, took a quick shower, and put on clean clothes. Without a second thought, he drove to Bianca's house. It was too early for a visit, he knew, but he needed to see them before the day officially began, before meetings, emails, and corporate emergencies could reclaim his attention. To his surprise, when he parked in front of the house, the kitchen light was already on. He hesitated for a moment before gently knocking on the door. Bianca answered, still in her pajamas and with her hair in a messy bun. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Gustavo, what are you doing here so early?" "I needed to see you," he replied simply. "May I come in?" Bianca stepped aside, allowing him entry. In the small kitchen, Sofia was sitting at the table eating cereal and drawing at the same time, creating a colorful mess around her. "Uncle Gustavo," she exclaimed when she saw him, jumping from her chair to hug his legs. "Did you come to have breakfast with us?" "If your mother lets me," he replied, looking at Bianca with a silent question in his eyes. "Of course," Bianca said after a moment of hesitation. "There's coffee in the thermos, and bread in the basket." Sofia pulled Gustavo to sit beside her, immediately starting to show him the drawings she was making. They were scenes from the Christmas play with a particularly large and important angel in the center. "Look, Uncle Gustavo, it's me. I was the best angel, right?" "The best of all," he confirmed, smiling at the girl's enthusiasm. While Sofia chatted, Gustavo watched Bianca move about the kitchen, preparing her daughter's lunchbox for school. There was a graceful efficiency in her movements, a well-rehearsed routine that he was only just beginning to learn. "Sofia, finish your cereal," Bianca instructed. "We're already running late." "But Uncle Gustavo just got here," the girl protested. "And he can come back later if he wants," Bianca replied, casting an uncertain glance at Gustavo. "Actually," he said, "I was thinking of taking Sofia to school today. If that's all right with you." Bianca seemed surprised. "You didn't sleep all night, from what I understand. Shouldn't you be resting?" "I can rest later," Gustavo replied. "This is more important." A look of understanding passed between them. It wasn't just about taking Sofia to school, but about a choice being made, a priority being established. "Please, Mommy, let Uncle Gustavo take me," Sophia pleaded, clasping her hands in dramatic supplication. Bianca couldn't help but smile. "All right, but straight to school, no detours for candy or toys, understood?" "Yes, ma'am," Gustavo and Sophia replied in unison, exchanging knowing glances that made Bianca roll her eyes, but with a reluctant smile on her lips. As Sophia finished getting ready, Bianca and Gustavo were left alone in the kitchen for a moment. "I didn't expect to see you so early," she commented, washing Sophia's cereal bowl. "Did you manage to fix the problem at the office?" "Yes," Gustavo replied, approaching to help her with the dishes. "Around 4 in the morning. And you came straight here instead of resting." "I needed to see you two," he repeated, his voice low but intense. "I needed you to know that I'm not like him." Bianca stopped what she was doing, turning to face him. "Like who?" "Sophia's father. The man who disappeared when things got complicated." "I'm not like that, Bianca. When I say I want to be here, I mean it." Bianca studied his face for a long moment, as if searching for signs of insincerity. "Last night when you left, I felt like an idiot for having started to believe that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different." "And it is different," Gustavo insisted, taking a step towards her. "Yes, I had to leave to deal with an emergency. That will happen occasionally. I have a company to run. Responsibilities I can't just ignore. But I came back, Bianca." "I'll always come back?" Bianca took a deep breath, her eyes never leaving his. "One day at a time, remember?" "One day at a time," Gustavo agreed. "And today I want to be with you." The sound of hurried footsteps announced Sophia's return, now fully dressed for school, backpack on her back and a radiant smile on her face. "I'm ready, Uncle Gustavo." "Great," he replied, turning to the girl. "Oh, your carriage awaits, Princess." Sophia laughed and ran to hug her mother. "Bye, Mummy. I love you." "I love you too, sweetie," Bianca replied, kissing the top of her daughter's head. Then to Gustavo, "Straight to school." "I promise," he replied, raising his right hand in a solemn oath that made Sophia laugh even more. On the way to school, Sophia talked non-stop about the Christmas play, her friends, and how excited she was for her mother's upcoming birthday. "We're going to have a surprise party," she announced, with the confidence of someone who has everything planned. "With chocolate and strawberry cake, which is Mommy's favorite, and yellow balloons because that's her favorite color, and presents lots of presents." Gustavo smiled, enchanted by the child's enthusiasm. "That sounds perfect, Sophia, and I already know exactly where we can buy all of that." They spent the afternoon on a secret mission in downtown Aspen, visiting bakeries, decoration shops, and finally jewelry stores. In each place, Sophia took on the role of chief consultant, approving or vetoing choices with a comical seriousness for someone so small. At the jewelry store, while Sophia was distracted by the shiny pieces in the display, Gustavo discreetly spoke with the salesperson about a special order he had placed days earlier. "It's ready, Mr. Montero," the man informed him, handing him a small blue velvet box. "Exactly as you requested." Gustavo opened the box carefully. Inside lay a delicate white gold necklace with a star-shaped pendant encrusted with small diamonds. On the back of the pendant, 3 names were engraved in tiny letters: Bianca, Sophia, Gustavo. "It's perfect," he murmured, closing the box and carefully placing it in the inner pocket of his jacket. "What's perfect, Uncle Gustavo?" Sophia asked, materializing beside him with that unique ability children have to appear exactly when they shouldn't. "A special gift for your mother," he replied, kneeling to her height. "But it's a super secret, right? Not a single word to her." Sophia made a solemn gesture, running her fingers over her lips like a zipper. "Top secret." "Can I see?" "In due time," Gustavo promised. "Now, how about we go buy the ingredients for the cake?" In the days that followed, Gustavo balanced his work at Montero Tech with increasingly frequent visits to Bianca and Sophia's home. He delegated more responsibilities, restructured his agenda, and, to everyone's surprise at the company, announced that he would take a week off during the Christmas period, something he had never done in his entire career. "It's really happening, isn't it?" Amanda, his assistant, commented when he informed her of the decision. "You finally found something more important than the company." "It's not a matter of importance, Amanda," Gustavo corrected. "It's a matter of balance. something I took too long to discover. On the eve of Bianca's birthday, everything was ready. Gustavo had rented a small mountain cabin for the weekend, hired a discreet catering service, and rehearsed with Sophia how the big surprise would go. The girl could barely contain her excitement, which made it increasingly difficult to keep the secret. "Remember, Sophia," Gustavo repeated for the 10th time, as he drove her home after another day of preparations. "Tomorrow you'll go to school normally like any other day. And then Grandma Teresa will pick me up," Sophia completed, referring to the elderly neighbor who frequently looked after her when Bianca had to work late. "Exactly. And she'll take you straight to the cabin, where I'll be waiting with everything ready. And Mommy? I'll pick up your mother from work and tell her we have a special dinner. She won't suspect a thing until we get there." Sophia clapped her hands, ecstatic. "It's going to be the best surprise in the world." On the big day, everything went almost as planned. Sophia went to school without letting the secret slip, although she gave Bianca so many hugs that morning that her mother suspected something was up. "You're up to something, young lady Sophia," Bianca commented, narrowing her eyes playfully. "Me? Never!" the girl replied, with a smile so innocent it only increased Bianca's suspicions. Gustavo spent the day checking the last details. The cabin was beautifully decorated with soft lights and yellow flowers, as Sophia had suggested. The cake, 3 layers of chocolate with strawberry filling, had arrived impeccably. The presents were arranged on a decorated table, with the small package containing the necklace prominently displayed in the center. When it was time to pick up Bianca from the restaurant, Gustavo felt a nervousness he hadn't experienced since his first major business deals. He dressed carefully, opting for an elegant but not excessively formal look: dark pants, a light blue shirt, and a blazer he knew Bianca liked. Upon arriving at the mountain Hearth Bistro, he found Bianca finishing her shift, looking tired but beautiful in her simple uniform. Her eyes lit up when she saw him. "Happy birthday," he said, handing her a small bouquet of white lilies, her favorite flowers, as Sophia had confessed during their secret preparations. "Thank you," Bianca replied, genuinely touched. "I didn't expect you to remember. How could I forget? Besides, I have a very efficient informant." Bianca laughed, imagining Sophia sharing all her secrets with Gustavo. "Let me guess. My daughter has been very communicative lately. Let's just say she might have mentioned 1 or 2 things about what you like," Gustavo admitted, smiling. "And speaking of liking things, I'm inviting you to a special dinner tonight." "Dinner?" Bianca repeated, looking uncomfortable. "I'm not exactly dressed for an elegant dinner, Gustavo. And I need to pick up Sophia from Mrs. Teresa's house. Don't worry about what to wear. You look perfect just as you are. And as for Sophia, I've already arranged everything. Mrs. Teresa will stay with her until we return." Bianca hesitated, clearly torn between the desire to accept the invitation and the maternal responsibility that always came first. "It's just dinner, Bianca," Gustavo assured her. "I promise we won't be long. And Sophia is very well taken care of, you know that." Finally, she agreed. "All right. But I need to at least go home to change and take a quick shower." "Fair enough," Gustavo agreed. "I have an even better idea, actually. How about I take you home now, and I'll come back to pick you up in an hour?" Bianca studied him suspiciously. "You're up to something, aren't you?" "Me? Never," he replied with the same innocent expression he had seen on Sophia's face earlier. An hour later, Gustavo returned to pick up Bianca. She looked stunning in a simple turquoise dress, a gift from Sophia the previous Christmas, as the girl had proudly informed Gustavo. Her curly hair fell loosely over her shoulders, and light makeup enhanced her natural features. "You look beautiful," Gustavo said, feeling his heart race in a way it hadn't since his adolescence. "Thank you," Bianca replied, blushing slightly. "This dress is nothing fancy, but it's perfect," he assured her. "Exactly like you." The drive to the mountain cabin was filled with easy conversation. Bianca talked about her day at the restaurant, about a particularly difficult customer who later left a generous tip, about how excited Sophia was for Christmas. Gustavo listened attentively, asking questions and laughing at the right moments, but inside, he could barely contain his anticipation for the surprise to come. When they finally arrived at the cabin, Bianca looked around, confused. "Where are we? I thought we were going to a restaurant." I thought a private dinner would be more special, Gustavo explained, parking the car. Happy birthday, Bianca. He led her to the entrance of the cabin where soft lights illuminated the path between decorated pine trees. Bianca looked enchanted and confused at the same time. Gustavo, this is too much. You haven't seen anything yet, he promised, opening the door. The moment they entered, the lights fully came on and Sophia jumped out from behind a sofa, along with Mrs. Teresa shouting, "Surprise!" Bianca's face transformed into pure surprise, followed by an emotion so profound that tears immediately welled up in her eyes. Sophia ran to hug her, dressed in a little dress that matched her mother's, another detail carefully planned by Gustavo. "Happy birthday, Mommy! We tricked you good, didn't we?" Bianca knelt to hug her daughter, unable to contain her tears. "You completely tricked me, my love. What a wonderful surprise." "It was Uncle Gustavo's idea," Sophia revealed, pointing to him. "He organized everything, and I helped choose the flowers and the cake, and if we keep talking, we'll spoil all the surprises before we even start." Gustavo gently interrupted, winking at Sophia. "How about we show your mother the rest?" The night was magical. They dined by candlelight, with Sophia insisting on serving each dish as a professional waitress. Then came the cake, with candles that Sophia made sure to light personally, under the watchful eye of Gustavo and Mrs. Teresa. They sang Happy Birthday, and when Bianca closed her eyes to make her wish, Gustavo found himself fervently wishing that, whatever she had wished for, he could help make it come true. After the cake, it was time for presents. Sophia gave her mother a framed drawing where the three stick figures, now easily recognizable as Bianca, Sophia, and Gustavo, stood hand in hand under a Christmas tree. The title, written in colorful, childish letters at the top, "Read Acaso, my family." Bianca hugged her daughter for a long time, unable to express in words how much that simple gift meant. Mrs. Teresa gave Bianca a handmade shawl, which the elderly woman had spent weeks secretly knitting. Finally, it was Gustavo's turn. He handed her the small blue velvet box with slightly trembling hands. "It's nothing extravagant," he said, nervous as a teenager. "But it has a special meaning. For me, at least." Bianca slowly opened the box, and her breath caught when she saw the delicate necklace with the star pendant. Sophia approached, her eyes wide with admiration. "It's beautiful," Bianca murmured, touching the pendant with her fingertips. "Turn it over," Gustavo instructed softly. When Bianca saw the three names engraved on the back of the pendant, her eyes filled with tears again. She looked at Gustavo, a silent question in her gaze. "Since I met you two," he explained, his voice low but firm, "my life has gained new meaning. I know we promised to take it one day at a time, and I'm still honoring that promise. But I want you to know that for me, you are my guiding star now, the place I always want to return to." Sophia, who was watching the scene with wide eyes, clapped enthusiastically. "Does that mean Uncle Gustavo is going to be my daddy now?" The innocent and direct question dropped like a bomb in the room. Bianca froze, her eyes darting from Sophia to Gustavo, a mixture of panic and vulnerability on her face. Gustavo knelt to Sophia's height, choosing his words carefully. "Sophia, I would love to be a permanent part of your lives, but this kind of decision is very important and needs to be made slowly, with a lot of care. Your mother and I are still getting to know each other better." Sophia frowned, processing the information. "But you like us, right?" "More than I can explain," Gustavo replied honestly. "And we like you," Sophia declared, as if closing the subject. "So it's all good." The childlike simplicity brought smiles to all the adults in the room. Mrs. Teresa, sensing it was time to give the nascent family some privacy, announced she was tired and would retire to the guest room Gustavo had prepared for her. When Sophia finally fell asleep, exhausted from the day's excitement, Bianca and Gustavo were left alone in the cabin's living room, sitting side by side in front of the fireplace. "Thank you for today," Bianca said, unconsciously touching the necklace that now adorned her neck. "It was the most special birthday of my life." "It was a pleasure," Gustavo replied sincerely. "Seeing you happy, that's all I want." A comfortable silence fell between them, filled only by the crackling of the fire. "About what Sophia said," Bianca began hesitantly. "We don't need to talk about that now," Gustavo quickly assured her. "I understand it's complicated, that it's too early." It is early, Bianca agreed. But at the same time, it feels like I've known you my whole life. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can enter your life so suddenly and change everything. Gustavo smiled, remembering the day a little girl in a red dress handed him a hand-drawn invitation. An invitation made with glue and glitter can lead to unexpected places. Bianca laughed softly, then with a courage that surprised even herself, leaned in and kissed Gustavo. It was a gentle, almost timid kiss, but laden with promises. When they pulled apart, Gustavo touched her face with reverence. "One day at a time?" "One day at a time," Bianca confirmed, smiling. The days that followed passed in a whirlwind of activity. December progressed, and with it Sofia's excitement for Christmas grew. Gustavo spent more and more time at Bianca's house, helping with Christmas decorations, preparing dinners when Bianca arrived tired from work, reading stories to Sofia before bed. A routine established itself naturally, as if he had always been part of that family. Nights in his penthouse apartment became increasingly rare, until one afternoon, Bianca handed him a key. "So you don't have to knock every time," she explained casually, but her eyes revealed the weight of that gesture. On Christmas Eve, Gustavo arrived at Bianca's house laden with presents. There was something for everyone: educational toys and books for Sofia, a state-of-the-art coffee machine for Bianca, and even a cashmere shawl for Mrs. Teresa, who would join them for dinner. "You overdid it," Bianca gently chided, seeing the pile of presents under the small tree they had decorated together. "Just making up for all the Christmases I missed," he replied, kissing her lightly. Dinner was simple but perfect. Laughter, stories, and the sparkle in Sofia's eyes as midnight approached, and she insisted she needed to go to sleep so Santa Claus could come. Gustavo and Bianca stayed up late, assembling a bicycle that would be the big surprise the next morning. When they finally went to sleep, side by side in Bianca's bedroom, Gustavo felt complete in a way he had never experienced before. "Penny for your thoughts," Bianca murmured, snuggling against him. "I was thinking about how life comes full circle," Gustavo replied, stroking her hair. "2 months ago I was alone, thinking I had everything because I had money and success. Now I realize I had nothing that truly mattered. And now? Now I have everything. I have you too." Bianca smiled, snuggling closer. "It's funny. Sofia always believed that Christmas was magical, that wishes came true. I always tried to protect her from disappointment, explaining that dreams don't always come true. And then you appeared, as if you had come straight out of her letter to Santa Claus. She wrote asking for a friend for the park bench?" Gustavo joked. "No," Bianca replied, suddenly serious. "She asked for a father." The revelation hit Gustavo hard. All the puzzle pieces began to fit together. The way Sofia approached him that day, the unexpected invitation, the ease with which she accepted him into her life. "I never told anyone," Bianca continued, "but that morning before we went to the park, I read the letter Sofia had written to Santa Claus. She only asked for one thing, a father, because her mother seemed very lonely." Gustavo's eyes burned with contained tears. "And you let her invite me, even without knowing me?" Bianca shrugged, a small smile on her lips. "I guess a part of me wanted to believe in the magic of Christmas as much as Sofia did." "Crazy, isn't it?" "No," Gustavo replied, pulling her closer. "It's the most sensible thing I've ever heard." On Christmas morning, they were woken by an euphoric Sofia who jumped onto the bed shouting that Santa Claus had come. The girl's joy at discovering the new bicycle was contagious. But the most touching moment came later, when she handed Gustavo a clumsily wrapped package, covered in colorful paper and excessive tape. "I made it for you, Uncle Gustavo." Inside there was a handmade picture frame made with popsicle sticks, decorated with glitter and small stars. The photo inside showed the three of them, Bianca, Sofia, and Gustavo, on the day of the Christmas play at school. At the top of the frame, in childish, crooked letters, was written, "My family." "Do you like it?" Sofia asked anxiously. "It's the most beautiful gift I've ever received," Gustavo replied, his voice choked with emotion. Later that day, while Sofia played with her new presents and Bianca prepared lunch, Gustavo received a call from Amanda, his assistant. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Montero," she greeted him formally. "Merry Christmas, Amanda. Any problems at the company?" "Actually, yes," she replied, hesitant. "We just received a buyout offer from Megatech. They're offering an absurd amount, but they want an answer by New Year's. A few months earlier, this news would have consumed Gustavo completely. He would have cancelled any plans, returned immediately to the office, worked day and night analyzing the proposal. Now, looking at Sofia playing on the living room rug and Bianca humming in the kitchen, he felt a clarity he had never experienced before. Amanda, thank them for their interest, but inform them that Montero Tech is not for sale. And please, turn off your cell phone for the rest of the day. It's Christmas. You should be with your family, not solving corporate crises. But, sir, it's an incredible offer. There are things more valuable than money, Amanda, Gustavo replied with conviction. Something I've learned recently. Merry Christmas to you and your family. When he hung up, he found Bianca standing in the kitchen doorway, observing him with an intrigued expression. Was that work? She asked. Yes, Gustavo confirmed. A company buyout offer. A multi-million-dollar offer, according to Amanda. And you refused? Just like that, without even thinking? Gustavo approached her, taking her hands in his. I didn't need to think. Some decisions come from the heart, not the head. And my heart is here with you. Bianca studied him for a long moment, then smiled. That different smile Sofia had mentioned, the one she reserved only for Gustavo. One day at a time? She asked softly. Actually, Gustavo replied, looking at Sofia and then back at Bianca, I was thinking of something more permanent. If you'll have me. The look they exchanged contained all the unspoken promises, all the shared dreams, all the future they would build together, not just one day at a time, but a lifetime. Sofia, sensing something important happening, approached and took both their hands. Are we a family now? She asked with that crystalline intuition that only children possess. Yes, Sofia, Gustavo replied, kneeling to hug her. We are a family. And so what began with a simple invitation drawn with glue and glitter by a child in the park transformed into the most beautiful story of love and new beginnings that Gustavo, Bianca, and Sofia could imagine. It was not with grand gestures or grandiose promises that they built their happiness, but with small moments, simple gifts, and the certainty that finally they had found each other. And when, on the night of that Christmas, Sofia fell asleep between Gustavo and Bianca on the living room sofa, surrounded by torn wrapping paper and the soft glow of the tree lights, they knew that this was just the beginning of many Christmases they would share together. Because some stories don't need spectacular endings, just the promise of a new chapter with each sunrise. Dear listeners, we hope that Gustavo, Bianca, and Sofia's journey has touched your hearts. Like that invitation made with glitter and hope, we also invite you to become part of our family. If this story stirred emotions in you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share in the comments which city you are watching from. There are many other stories waiting to be told, characters waiting to come to life, and emotions to be felt through our narratives. As Sofia taught us, no one should be alone, especially in stories that touch our soul. If you want more stories like this, please like and turn on notifications. Until the next emotional journey we will embark on together.